Good day. Today is January 12, 2025. I am Evangeline de la Cruz, and this is the content of my open letter to Kilusang Mayo that I have posted on Facebook last January 10, 2025. Dati akong marino at ito ang open letter ko to Kilusang Mayo. Subject: a call to advocate for marine officers and seafarers and broaden representation in the maritime industry. Dear Kilusang Mayo, officers and leaders, warm greetings of solidarity. As a former seafarer for almost 14 years, a maritime labor advocate, and the former president of Seafarers Organization, I write to you with deep concern for the rights and welfare of marine officers and seafarers, both overseas and domestic. They play a crucial role in global trade, contributing significantly to the Philippine economy, yet they face persistent challenges including exploitative contracts, weak enforcement of labor standards, and insufficient representation. For almost 9 years, I have exhausted every possible effort to bring these issues to the attention of relevant government agencies and report the irregularities affecting our marine officers and seafarers. Despite my persistent attempts, I have been met with deafening silence and inaction from the government. This failure to address these pressing concerns has left marine officers and seafarers without the necessary support and protections they deserve. In light of these challenges, I believe that Kilusang Mayo, with its proven commitment to labor rights, can become a transformative ally for marine officers and seafarers. Below, I outline specific suggested steps KMU can take to expand its scope and advocate for marine officers and seafarers. Number 1. The establishment of a maritime labor division within Kilusang Mayo. Suggested steps would be: perhaps KMU could consider conducting an initial survey or consultation to identify active seafarers organizations and better understand their needs. It could be beneficial for KMU to form a dedicated maritime workers division within its structure to address maritime-specific issues. I suggest that KMU may want to consider appointing seafarers advocates and industry experts to lead this division, ensuring its credibility and effectiveness. Number 2. Improving collective bargaining representation for seafarers. Suggested steps would be: it may be useful to identify seafarers' unions and collective bargaining agreements currently in place, assessing whether they go beyond the minimum standards set by the POEA then and Department of Migrant Workers now. Perhaps KMU could consider developing training programs for union representatives on effective negotiation strategies to secure better wages, benefits, and working conditions. It might be worth exploring how to advocate for stricter regulations that require agencies and ship owners to engage in meaningful collective bargaining rather than adopting generic and minimum standards of CBAs. Number 3. Advocating for reforms. Suggested steps would be: it could be helpful for KMU to consider organizing a national campaign highlighting gaps in POEA then and DMW now in enforcement of seafarers' contracts and Marina's oversight of ship safety and training standards. Perhaps KMU might want to explore proposing specific policy reforms such as improving grievance mechanisms, increasing penalties for non-compliance by agencies, and mandating third-party audits of compliance with local and international standards and other reforms. Number 4. Building global solidarity for Filipino marine officers and seafarers. Suggested steps would be: partnering with the International Transport Workers Federation or ITF to strengthen international advocacy for Filipino marine officers and seafarers. Establish a network of maritime labor unions across different countries to share best practices, strategies, and resources. Advocate for stronger representation for Filipino marine officers and seafarers in global negotiations on maritime labor standards. Number 5. Educating and empowering marine officers and seafarers on their rights. Suggested steps would be: develop accessible education materials in print and online, explaining seafarers' rights under Philippine laws and international laws and conventions. Conduct regular workshops or webinars to equip marine officers and seafarers with the knowledge to assert their rights and report violations. Establish a hotline or help desk within Kilusang Mayo for marine officers and seafarers seeking advice or legal assistance. Number 6. Addressing retaliation and barriers to unionizing and organizing. Suggested steps would be: launch an awareness campaign targeting marine officers and seafarers and their families about the importance of unionizing and how KMU can provide support. Provide legal assistance and protection for marine officers and seafarers who face retaliation from organizing or joining unions. Collaborate with progressive lawmakers to propose stronger protections for marine officers and seafarers engaging in union activities. My closing thoughts. Filipino marine officers and seafarers are among the most hardworking and resilient workers, yet they continue to face systemic injustices. By expanding your scope to include maritime labor in Kilusang Mayo can help empower a sector that urgently needs collective representation and advocacy. Having exhausted all efforts to engage with the government for nearly 9 years and receiving no response or action, I now turn to Kilusang Mayo, hoping that your organization can bring the leadership and accountability that Filipino marine officers and seafarers need. Together, we can pave the way for meaningful change that uplifts the lives of Filipino marine officers and seafarers. This call is solely for the purpose of advocating for the rights and welfare of marine officers and seafarers within the bounds of Philippine laws and international standards. It is not intended to promote any political or ideological agenda. In solidarity, Evangeline de la Cruz, Maritime Labor Advocate.